Welcome to the Parenting on the Spectrum show with board-certified behavior analyst and infant-toddler development specialist, Teresa Alexander Inman. Parenting on the Spectrum dives into real stories, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable insights and support for families on your unique journey. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome, welcome. Today, my guest is Mr. Olaolu Ogunyemi. That's all I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to bring him up and we're going to have a chat. Welcome.
Hello, how are you doing? Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are most welcome. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I commend all this work that you've been doing. I've listened to the show. I've read about it. Phenomenal thing you're doing there. So thank you so much for the work and the service you're providing.
Thank you. Thank you. So, sir, as a parent, as a Navy Marine officer, and an author, why are you here?
I'm here to talk about trying to find ways to connect with children, to develop teachable and memorable moments and experiences. Just very excited to use some of the things that I've learned over the past experiences with my own children. For those listening and watching, I have a 15-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son, and a 6-year-old daughter. They are the love of my life, and they're also a handful. I'm married as well, so my wife does an excellent job of helping out, and she works alongside me as my partner. And then as a Marine, I've been in the Marine Corps almost 13 years now, 14 if you count when I went to my initial training. And so I've learned a lot of things just from a diverse background of leadership and having the ability to work alongside people. And then lastly, as an author, and I don't say that last as in it's not an order of importance, but it is just what I enjoy doing. And I'm a children's book author. I've written 3 stories, the award-winning Crow from the Shadow, which is a rhyming story. The second is Billy Dipper's Time to Shine. And then the last is Horace the Horsefly. Horace the Horsefly is the one that's actually for the younger children, so about age 2 to 5. It's really it's talking about sight words and animal sounds and just getting people engaged. So I'm excited to talk about all those things and how all those things create my philosophy and my thoughts on how we can create connections with our children.
Awesome. So what is your philosophy?
So for my philosophy is we have to be intentional about connecting with our children. And I say that because one of the things that I believe we have to do first is connect with ourselves. We have to establish habits of building up the 4 key areas, and I'm sure most people are familiar with them. Your physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional. For example, I like to do it first thing in the morning. Why? Because first thing in the morning, I establish a foundation for my day and for myself. And one of the things I've learned just talking to parents and really obviously being a parent myself is I almost feel selfish because every day I'm getting up first thing in the morning. I don't care what's going on at nighttime. I'm going to go to sleep so that way I can wake up. Now, I'm not recommending this, but I do wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But it's because I personally do that because I enjoy the quiet time that I get first thing in the morning. And so I wake up and the first thing I do is I start on my devotion, meditation, and because I'm a Christian, I read my word, my Bible. Then I proceed to work out. I usually do strength training for 50 minutes and I do cardio for 30 minutes. And then I start listening on the way back, usually on the way home or way to work. I listen to an audiobook or if I have time, I add in 30 minutes of reading. So I either do physical reading or audiobook reading for about 30 minutes. And I do all of that. And the reason I'm telling you all that is because it's establishing some form of ritual for yourself first and having something to build yourself up and get yourself started on a firm foundation. Because I think we all know having children that they're going to bring challenges to us. It's second their feet hit the ground. It's almost like they're like, how can I challenge my parents today? So it's whether it's their thoughts and behaviors and attitudes, or whether it's some kind of troubles they've had. For example, for my son, he was diagnosed with complex partial epilepsy when he was 3 years old. To us, it came out of nowhere. I was working on Recruit Depot, which is training recruits, is where our initial people come into the Marine Corps to start their career. And I just checked in there. It was probably about 2 weeks there. I didn't have much going on. It was a Friday, so I went home. It was early. I went home. I walk in the house. I put my stuff down, and my wife calls me, and she's completely out of breath. And I'm like, okay, what's happening? And she couldn't tell me. She couldn't get it through. So I was like, okay, just tell me where you are. I'll come meet you. Because what I thought happened is she had an accident, and I was just going to come help, with the insurance and all those things. And then she said they can't wake him up. And that's when I was like, well, okay, who can't they wake up? She said, your son. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm on the way to the school. And immediately I snapped into a mode where, okay, now I have to make sure that everything's taken care of. But one thing that I appreciate about my brother is although I ran so the school was, it's 2 minutes by car from where we lived. It was a daycare at the time. Phenomenally trained staff, so they already knew what to do. By the time I showed up, all I had to do is say, okay, you call police, you do this, you do that. We got in an ambulance and we were able to get him to care. And that's when his initial, I guess his breakout seizure happened. And then over the years, he had numerous more. And that's just one of the many challenges that we had as parents. But that scenario in and of itself taught me the importance of knowing how to, act in the moment. And that's one thing we did. We act initially. I had to act. I had to figure out, okay, now I'm going to push information to my wife and not make her stress because I don't want her speeding and trying to get to the hospital. And I'm trying to make sure my son is settled. And, oh yeah, I still have at this point another daughter who's now in school, and I got to figure out how to get her home. Who's going to take care of her? So all these things, all these logistics, I felt like I had to figure out. But the most important thing after all that happened is finding a space for yourself. And that was one of the first times that I just sat down in my room and I had a deep wail. It was one of those things. I get goosebumps even thinking about it. I sat in the room and I just cried. And it was one of those things that I learned from my brother, Joshua, who had his own traumatic experience when he had his children his twins at 23 weeks. And it was one of those things that I learned from him. He said, listen, it's good. I know you're a Marine. You're going to push. You want to be that guy. You want to be strong for everybody. He said, but the most important part is taking time to recover for yourself and understand that there's still a grieving process associated with these things. So all that to say, the first part of my philosophy is learning how to connect with yourself. Learning the introspection is important, and having some form of rituals or habits that set time for you to give you the energy and the enthusiasm and everything you need to pour into your children throughout the day.
Wow. Yeah. It's like filling your cup so you can pour it out into them, right?
That's right. That's right. And one of the things that I learned is I got this from her name was Deb Karts. She said, if mom's not okay, nobody's going to be okay. And we laughed about it. It was so funny. We talked about it. But that's so true. It is mom or dad. But if you're not okay, you're not full to the brim. You don't fill yourself up. You have nothing to pour into anybody else, and that's really what it's all about. I think that's where the heart of parenting is. It's knowing that you're not selfish for wanting to take care of yourself, and in fact, I would argue that you're selfish if you don't take care of yourself, because then you're pouring from an empty cup, and everybody knows that when you're trying to pour from an empty cup, all it does is create anxiety. It creates stress. It creates all these other negative experiences for children. And then they start picking up on those things because that becomes their norm. You are the norm for them, and they believe that is the way that they should interact with other human beings. So it's a beautiful thing that I learned. Obviously, I learned at a young age. My oldest is 15, but I learned at a young age the benefit of doing that. And I've been putting it into practice, and every day, again, you need that energy, especially when you have such a wide range from 15 all the way down to 6. And of course, they have their own extracurricular activities that you have to keep up with.
Yeah. And you never know what's going to come. So it's important, like you said, to prepare yourself. I always tell parents, your children deserve your best self. And if you're not rested, if you haven't taken care of you, like you said, you're actually being selfish because now, and I'm just going to reiterate what you said again, they're going to behave the way you do. Because when you're tired and stressed, you don't respond exactly in a way that serves anyone. And your children pick up on that. And when they start having tantrums and you wonder, where did that come from? It came from you. You taught them, because your tantrum looks a little different than theirs, right?
That's right.
So we teach children how to behave. So it's really important that we set ourselves up so that we can present them our best selves. And I'm not saying to be fake or whatever, because I kind of almost heard somebody say, well, what do you mean? Your best just means you're calm, relaxed. I've taken care of myself, you put on your mask first. So now you can help somebody else. Because if you don't, we're all going down.
That's exactly right. And that's the thing is, and I love what you said there, because you're right. People will challenge it as being fake, trying to put on this persona. And quite honestly, I wouldn't recommend it, because if you try to put on something that you're not, which is something I tried specifically in the Marine Corps. I've tried it in the Marine Corps. I've tried it as a young parent, and I'll give this example. And I'm transparent with my experiences in hopes that maybe another young parent is out there looking. I tried to replicate what my parents did. The way my parents led me, and the way I just have been wired neurologically, is much different than the way I should have parented my oldest daughter, and really all three individually. But in my mind, I was just going to repeat what they did. And in one case, I was just talking, and for me, when I was younger, if I'm going on and I'm pushing the limits, my parents can talk to me as gently as they want to. That just wasn't going to work for Olaolu Ogunyemi. That just wasn't going to work. That I needed some good old firm, direct conversation. And that's who I was. And that's what I needed at that time in my life. Well, now you take that and flip it. I use that same kind of leadership with my daughter, my oldest. And I believe she was around 3 years old. And I didn't yell or anything, but I was very firm. I said, I told you to do this, and you did not do that. So I need you to blah, 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 whatever I said, something like that. And she completely broke. And I'm sitting there looking at her like, oh, what is this reaction? This is not one I'm familiar with. And what it was to her is that connection that we had, where I've been talking to her like just a normal, like this, my relationship with her was just through discussion. It's still the same way today. And now I've taken that and I've broken that same connection. And for a 3-year-old, that could almost be traumatic to them. But I've now broken that connection to present this new style of parenting, a new style of leadership that she wasn't used to. And now I've tried to create a new norm there that she wasn't having. And the way she reacted to it taught me a lesson. And that's another part of being a parent. And I love that children are gracious to us as parents because we get to learn. But I learned the lesson that they will teach you how to lead them. Yes. And that's the best thing about being a parent. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to have situational awareness. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in. Be aware of how what you say and do impacts your child and your children, because otherwise you'll do what I did and you'll charge into the room like bull in a China shop approach, and you say something real firm. She breaks down, and yet maybe she complied technically, but at what cost? Did she comply because she was scared? And is that really what I'm trying to present to my children? When I was a child, I wasn't replying because I was scared. I was replying because I finally heard you. I wasn't listening the other times. For her, she replied out of fear. And in my humble opinion, teaching people or trying to mentor and guide people or discipline people through fear does nothing but get momentary compliance. But that's not going to help them develop the self-discipline they need so they can continue to be successful in the future.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to recap because what you said so resonated with me. Children will teach you how to treat them. And it's really important that we're aware of that and that we're paying attention to that, because when we don't, that's when we go wrong, because they make it easy for us. Our children are not here to make our lives difficult. They don't wake up and say, oh, how can I mess this up for, mom or dad today? They wake up with thoughts of love and joy. And if we teach them to navigate life, right, which is easier after we have that connection with them, right? It's really important to connect with them after we connect with ourselves. And when we show that, oh my gosh, it is just so powerful. Parenting becomes a lot easier once that stage is set. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing that I read a book that's called Hold On to Your Kids. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but I highly recommend it. It's about Dr. Gordon Neufeld and Dr. Gabor Mate is his name. One of the things they talk about is it's called connection before direction. And I love that because what that's implying for us is that we go intentionally meet our children where they are. Sometimes that means physically getting into their space where they are and being with them in that moment. I had a question last week when I was having a discussion, and they said, "Well, how do you get your children off of the electronics?" My child just does not want to do electronics, and there's recommendations on how much screen time is the right time. My thing is whatever works for your home works for your home. But my recommendation when it comes to making that connection and getting them off the screen is making sure that whatever they do, you're going to them and you're enjoying that moment with them. So that means if they're gamers, spend some time gaming with them. Don't be such a prima donna and say, I don't do that. I've never played a game in my life. That's fine. Well, now no better time to learn than today. If they love reading, spend some time reading with them. And I advocate for increasing literacy. And then one of the questions that usually comes up is about older children and teenagers. No problem. What you should do is share in an experience, just like you would share in an adult book club. There's nothing wrong with that. Pick up the books that they enjoy, watch the shows they enjoy, read or play the games they enjoy, or go outside. I'm a huge advocate for getting outside. Do physical activity with them if you can. Music. There's many times I had one of my godsons on the spectrum, and he was a phenomenal musician. At the age of 2, when he first started walking, he would walk over to the drum set at church, after church, and he'll be keeping a rhythm. And I would stay over there with my bass guitar, and I'll bob my head with him and have him put his headset on. He's just doing all this extra stuff. And so in that moment, we established that connection. So much so that me and his dad used to joke because he would come into church. So we showed up earlier because we were musicians, and he would come into church and walk straight past his dad, didn't say anything, and come sit with me. And I used to be like, we laugh in the middle of church. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And it was just so funny because he'll just walk right past him, come sit by me. And it's not because his dad was doing anything wrong. That's not what I'm getting at. But it's because me and that individual had that connection with music. And so he just, for whatever reason, he resonated with me when it came to that music. And I think that's what it means to get into their space and establish that connection, because it does make parenting easier. And I say that, and you say that, knowing that what it does is it creates an opportunity to have those conversations that you know are going to come. It creates that bridge to them. So when things start happening, in the teenage years, like I'm learning right now, junior high, and high school is a very interesting experience for child and for parent. But what that does is, because of those connections, those things like me getting stuck in Chuck E. Cheese, chasing my daughter around, seemed silly at the time. But now when she's having experiences in high school or dealing with some form of heartbreak, she knows that she can come to her safe space, which is me and her mother. And that's the beauty of establishing that connection.
Yes, and that is so powerful. So powerful. I have goosebumps. And I'm just going to take it to the autistic child who does repetitive behaviors, right? Yesterday actually I met with a couple of registered behavior technicians who work with autistic children. And one of the things I said to them, if they're hand flapping, sitting on the floor, sit on the floor and hand flap with them. Get into their world, right? If they're making sounds, repeat those sounds. Whatever they're doing, get in there with them. Let them know that you're in their world. Get comfortable in their world, because that's the only way you can draw them out to experience your world. Right? But if you try to, stop that, don't do that, all you're doing is putting up a wall. They'll be putting up a wall, and you won't be, that connection will be lost. So whatever it is, I remember, and she's not on the spectrum, but this actually spoke to pretty much what I was saying. One of my nieces, I went to her house one day and she was like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." So I repeated exactly what she said. And she looked at me, she said, "I said," that was her first word, She went back to, it's just like, oh my God, they will correct you, even though they're not, but that was so powerful for me. And it made me realize, the importance of getting into their world and, being able to, because you can only teach them when you're there. If you try to drag them into our world, into your world, that moment is lost.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're saying there because again, my niece, and I didn't mention this earlier, but she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And my godsons, I've worked alongside a lot of these people, with a lot of these parents who have children on the spectrum or have some form of special needs. And what I love about engaging with them is that they're just so free to be themselves. But what I also notice is there's a little bit of our need to try, as you were saying, to bring them into our world, which means that we're trying to stop them from performing some form of behavior. For us, sometimes we have to check our motive for doing that. We have to check our motive to make sure that are we trying to teach that, hey, this is a disruptive behavior. And we're trying to say, okay, well, you can't do that during this time, but here's the appropriate time to do it. Or are we doing it because it's embarrassing us? And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to say that, that was embarrassing to me. It's embarrassing for me to go out and for people to sympathize, not empathize, sympathize with me as in, oh, I feel so bad for him. It is a bit of embarrassment because most people want to be looked at as self-sufficient and strong and independent and all these other qualities that we value in our society. So sometimes it's almost like you're taking this individual and you're turning something that could be a strength, which is the rhythm that you're referring to, and all the other things they have, and where you could now be using that positivity. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce my words. But you could use that as a great experience to build that connection. And now it's turning into a negative experience. And what we sometimes forget is that your children pick up on those cues as they're watching you. So if now you're viewing that as a negative thing, perhaps they can't even help it. And now they're now training their brains. You're helping to train their minds that this is a negative experience. And sometimes we try to wonder why they react, and this is children on the spectrum or with special needs or not, why are they reacting in the way they're reacting? Well, mostly because you've now turned something because of whatever internal thing that you have going on, you turn into a negative experience for them as you were trying to figure out a way to work with it yourself. And so really, again, it's about introspection. It's about knowing how you're interacting with the world and knowing why you reacted in the way you did. Because if you're saying stop it because you're trying to teach, okay, that's fine. As parents, our job is to guide and direct and teach. But just I always recommend checking your motive with children to make sure that motive remains pure. And if I were to be transparent, I grade myself. I don't give myself an A+ every day. I don't think there is one day I give myself an A+ and saying that today I perfectly identified that when I reacted to that, it was perfect. I don't think there's one day. And I think we give ourselves the space to know we're going to make mistakes. But the biggest thing is to recognize that we are making mistakes and then go forward and try to do better to grow and develop our children.
Absolutely. And what came to mind was a meeting I had with a parent yesterday and her 13-year-old and who's autistic. And she said, Mom, I notice everything you do. I notice and I was just like, wow, that was just so powerful. And it also brought to mind a time when I was out in public with a family because we were working on some skills in the community. And mom was so embarrassed because her son was having a tantrum. I said, first of all, he's 19 months old. If we don't do this now, he'll be 10 years old and now you can deal with people judging you. I don't care what they're saying and thinking right now. That's not what we're about. This is age appropriate behavior and we're going to help him through that. And what they think or say while they're looking at you, I'm not worried about. Look at me and smile.
Right.
And but she was just, again, because it speaks to motivation, right? She was embarrassed because of the looks that she was getting. And I get it. However, if we change our behaviors because of other people, how is that we have to ask ourselves, is that serving our child?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So.
No, that's absolutely accurate, and that's the ultimate thing. As parents, we know that's our ultimate role. But you are right. Is at times people's perception does play a huge role in how we are parenting or serving our children, and I do agree. It is tough, especially publicly. Publicly is the hardest thing. Public embarrassment, really for adults or children alike, it's the hardest thing to deal with, and just our reaction. I've learned the hard way, obviously. Our reaction to that in that moment just makes it so much worse because now you are embarrassed. And because you're embarrassed, you acted out. So you're demonstrating the same behavior that your child was showing, demonstrating. You acted out in a certain way, and now they're now receiving that negative response. And so now they're acting out. And now it's like trying to see who's going to act out worse. In your way, you think you're doing it the right way because you're the parent. I'm in charge. And in their way, they're doing it the right way because they don't even know how to communicate any other way other than what you're doing. And this is it's just a reciprocating thing. We continue to do this every single time. But a lot of it is based upon external feedback that, to your point, that honestly doesn't matter. I mean, what somebody random at Publix thinks about me it doesn't impact me unless they're going to finally take over my bills and help me raise my children somehow. Then their opinion is completely and utterly irrelevant. So we just have to accept that as is. Beautiful way of putting that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Is there anything you want to close with? Some last words you want to share with our audience?
Absolutely. So again, it's an honor to be here. What you're doing is extremely important. And I believe that every parent listening to this, I just want you to know that you are a champion. The fact that you're taking the time to listen to a podcast or watch a podcast and really pour in the time to growing yourself lets me know that you truly want to grow. And so continue to invest in yourself, continue to grow, and continue to lead your children well. You're doing a phenomenal job. We're all out here together with joined arms, young and old children. We're all out here doing the same thing. We're trying to figure out this thing called being a parent and being a leader. So keep doing it. You're awesome, and I'm very proud of you for choosing to grow in this world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ola. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're actually going to come back and Joshua will join us. So I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Ciao.